God, I love Lemmings too. I would go visit my dad because I didn't get to see him very often. And he would have Lemmings on his computer. So I would play Lemmings. And then we would go visit my grandma and my grandpa, the grandpa that I go and visit. And they had like mahjong and like different games on there. And then my grandma would play she would play the games on Neopets for me too. But I would play Lemmings at my dad's house. And then I remember one time I got my grandparents in trouble because I went to their house and I opened a file on the computer that was in the games folder or something. And it was like an animated Christmas card, I think. And it had a bunch of ladies with their boobs out, and then there were elves. And I remember I got really embarrassed because I was young. I was young. And I went home and I told my mom about it. And I think she called them because my mom is very weird about like naked things. As in, like, I've said it before, we don't have anything higher than a PG-13 film unless it's rated R just for violence in the house. If there was any time, it's not the same one with the magazines. Stop snitching. I know. I think it was because I was so young though, because that one I think I was probably under 10 years old. And I think my mom called them because my mom is really against that stuff. Like my poor dad is not allowed to watch any movies that have boobs in them. And I don't even notice boobs in movies anymore. I'll be like, oh, that's a boob. But growing up, we could not have any movies with boobs in them. It was illegal. And if they do have boobs in them, my mom holds the controller for the television. And if there's boobs on the screen, she fast forwards or turns the television off until they're over. My dad is only allowed to see one pair of boobs, and that's my mom's boobs. My mom if my dad wanted to see a movie in theaters, he had to take me with him so that if there were boobs, I could snitch on him. And there was one time that my sister went with him to the, he would ice up the boat and put fuel in it. So he would take his boat, because he's a fisherman, to the marina, and he would get, the coolers on the boat filled with ice. They would have this like big long tube that comes down, and you put it into the holes in the boat and you open it, and it like fills it up with ice, and then they put fuel in it too. So my sister would go with him to do that, and she was really little, and we always thought it was funny to lie and get my dad in trouble, but most of the time my mom could tell that we were lying. So one time my sister went with him, and she was talking to my mom, and she's like, we went to go do the boat, and dad was talking to a lady, and my mom started to get a little bit like, oh, what do you mean? And then she was asking her about it, and my sister was like, she was wearing a bathing suit, and my mom was like, oh, was she? And my sister said, yeah, and her bathing suit was really little. And she was talking to dad and asking him about his name and stuff and blah, 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 blah. And my mom was like, oh, yeah? She goes, what did this lady look like? My sister said, she was very old, probably 100. And my mom started laughing, and she's like, oh, yeah? My sister was like, yeah. And dad was talking to her, and he was smiling a lot. And my mom was like, I can't believe this. Because then she wasn't really like, she wasn't like booba anymore. She's like, oh, he was talking to an old ass woman, and my sister was still fucking snitching on him. And my mom, it was a joke though too, because my dad would call while he was coming home from fishing, and he would come home either really late in the evening or like even when we were already in bed. But if he would call late in the evening and we answered the phone, my mom would say, play a trick on dad. And so he would say, what's your mom doing? And we would say, she left in a car with a handsome man. And my dad would just be like, put your mother on the phone. And we'd be like, we can't. She left with a man and said that they're gonna go to the casino and spend lots of money, and also he's gonna buy her a new car. My dad would be like, can I please just talk to your mother? I want to know what's for dinner. And we would say, nothing's for dinner because she left and she didn't cook dinner, and now we're starving and we're going to die. My dad would be like, I'll be home in 50 minutes or whatever. And we would be like, okay, hurry home, we're lonely. And then we would hang up. And then the same would happen, and my mom would go out to like the grocery store or something, and she would call and she'd be like, can I talk to your dad? And we'd be like, he left with a lady. And my mom would be like, can I talk to your dad, please? And we'd be like, they're going to the strip club to see more ladies. And my mom would be like, I need to ask him if we have butter in the fridge. And we would say, they took the butter with them to grease up the ladies. And my mom would she'd just fucking hang up on us. And that was what they dealt with. They dealt with it. Greased up ladies, though.